thank you for allowing us to present this important work that will help us to continue and grow and expand on the excellence that is District 30. Presenting with me tonight are 3 committee members. We have Miss Jackie Ruff, math teacher extraordinaire. Thank you. We have Shreyas Shaw, District 30 parent and community member. I just would also like to point out, hopefully I'm not stealing anything you're going to say, he also served on the District 225 Strategic Plan Committee, so this guy has given a lot of volunteer time to strategic planning. And then we have student and community member, 8th grader Andrew Novak. Tonight we will formally present the strategic plan. Board members, you have the full long version in draft. We did not print a mass copy just in case you hate it tonight. Just kidding. You've had time to review the plan. We've been updating the board throughout this process. Tonight's presentation is really to just highlight some key takeaways and themes from the process. As we get started here, on August 1st, last summer, if you remember, the board and I engaged in a reflective workshop facilitated by the Illinois Association of School Boards. One of the outcomes of that workshop was the board identifying 3 priorities for this school year. And they were updating the strategic plan in District 30, increasing community and stakeholder engagement, and continuing to foster and develop the trust in District 30 among all of us. 9 months later, we are here to present the board with a comprehensive strategic plan that truly represents the stakeholders in District 30 and the District 30 community. We have worked throughout the year, as highlighted here, to engage tirelessly in 2-way communication, solicit feedback, collaborate on ways to continuously develop and enhance the opportunities afforded right here in District 30. I think we have more than honored the priorities that you set for us that past August 1st at our retreat, and it is my honor to turn the presentation over to some of our brilliant committee members to share a few words about their process. I'm going to start with Miss Jackie Ruff. Whichever you're comfortable with.
Hi. When this process first started, I'll say we sat in that first meeting, and I was a little overwhelmed and wondering why I had agreed to this whole thing. However, as we worked through and sat through it, it really was such an amazing opportunity and experience to work with all the stakeholders, from the students and parents. We had community members who don't have students, and a ton of staff members who are willing to give up time and create sub-plans and all of that to put the time into it. But most importantly, I have to say I was most impressed with the students and their thoughts and their input, and they really spoke for each other and for their peers as far as what they want to see from District 30.
Andrew, you're up after.
So I'll just echo some of the statements that Ms. Ruff made. I do believe kind of in the immense power of a group of people coming together with similar interests, different vantage points, but a shared goal. And I think one of the things that was really impressive with the entire process was it really was a safe space where people could honestly disagree, but then constantly come back to the student at the center of what our goals were and what we wanted to accomplish. And I think the plan that you have in front of you is a testament to that. Different opinions discussed and pulled apart to really what are our shared core values and core beliefs. Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty, so I didn't come with a script. I guess you could say I'm unprepared. But I do have a few things I'll go off of. First thing is, I would just like to say how great it is that the students were able to be involved with this process, because without that student input, you might not know how much and what needs to be worked on that goes on within the school, because the students are the backbone of the district, in my perspective. And I think like we've conquered so many goals, gone over so many challenges, looked at all of our, like everything that happens in this district through this process, so yeah.
mission and the vision of the district. So the district already had what was called the ECHO previously, which was a mission statement. Essentially, we've changed the name to mission, and we did very, very little tweaking with that mission. So the only thing we changed as a committee in there was using the word inspires versus craves. And, sorry, I should have put my glasses on. As well as adding that we want to be an inclusive environment for all the children. For our vision, we took some time to really talk about and collaborate on what we wanted to see moving forward, and it really aligns a lot with the strategic plan and the goals that you're going to see in a little shortly. But we generated it in the same way. We came together, we collaborated, we shared input, we gave feedback on input that was given, and really crafted what we felt was a thoughtful vision for the district. Again, we participated in various collaborative activities to develop our values. We reviewed some models from districts and the works that they did, and took some of the things that we liked and discussed things that we wanted to keep for ourselves. All while keeping in mind where we want to be as a district in the next 5 years, and honoring the excellence and tradition that District 30 already holds. So of course, all of our values are interdependent and rely on each other.
So I think when we came up with the values, I'll talk to one of them, kind of health and well-being. As a parent, I can be honest, I started the process a little bit selfishly, right? I started thinking about my daughter and her students and what their needs were. And what's interesting, as we looked at all the data, we got the feedback and all the iterations we went through, it became very clear that my viewpoint was incomplete, right? If we think about what happens inside the classroom, we were missing all the other key component, the teachers, the staff, who are in the classroom every day with our students, impacting them. And so one of the things I looked at when we had our discussions is as we sort of expanded, and I expanded my broader perspective, if you take a look at our values, for example, health and well-being, it goes beyond just the students, right? We want to focus on everybody in the classroom, the students, the teachers, and the staff. And I think that's what really makes the strategic plan, and specifically these values, pretty unique, is it incorporates so many different stakeholders. Andrew talked about having his voice in the room was so important and so valuable. And so when you look at the values we have, it does go across, from my perspective, all the stakeholders who are in the room and continue to be, their voice continue to be heard.
Andrew, we're up again. Yeah, you and me, right. Yeah, we're in this together, this one. A new component that came out of the strategic planning process was the development of our student, adult, and system portraits. These portraits really highlight how the adults and system will support and prioritize certain outcomes and how they work together for the whole child. The student portrait really emphasizes the qualities and characteristics that we hope every single one of our students will have as they leave Maple School, in June of that 8th grade year and go on to high school. And so I was hoping that Andrew would maybe talk a little bit more about the portrait and pick one that's important to him, or whatever he wants to say about the student portrait.
All right, so, this microphone's different. So, as you see, there are the 7 of them. The 7 main things we were prioritizing with our student portrait. But I think one that stood out to me would be engaged learners, because once the students are engaged in what they're learning, they can really focus on it and succeed and excel. I personally find that when I'm engaged in classes, like personally social studies is something I really engage in, I succeed and I pay so much more attention. And I'm not saying, if I'm not engaged in one class, I don't pay attention, but I find that you would pay more attention to something you're engaged in, and something you're having fun, you're enjoying what you're doing. Yeah.
I love what Andrew said when he walked in here tonight. He said the innovative learning, and he was really an advocate in the room about innovative practices and ensuring that we're constantly looking at ways to evolve the learning process to ensure that kids are engaged. And that was straight out of the kids' mouths on that innovative practices that we honed in on.
So, just like we had a student portrait, we created an adult portrait. And I think as a board, if you're looking at this, you're probably, I'm assuming, going to ask the question, why adult and why not a different portrait for teachers and staff versus parents? Maybe, maybe not. But if you are asking that question, you should know that the team actually wrestled with that exact same question. We spent a lot of time discussing it, trying to go, well, do we want something different for the parents? Do we want something different for the teachers and staff who are in the room? And what was interesting is while we all had different opinions, we did keep coming back to this student-centered model. What is the best thing to do to support the kids in the classroom? And I think that North Star focus is why we landed as a strategic team on an adult. And so the parents on the team, I think especially, sort of agreed that we have to, and we do ask the teachers to do their part, but then we also as parents have to do our part, right? We trust the teachers who are in the classroom every single day, and they do an amazing job. If we haven't said it enough, truly amazing job. But parents need to be held accountable and need to be doing what we need to do to support them and support our students. Now, while it doesn't mean we necessarily want to be told exactly how to parent our children, right? Simultaneously, we do want the board and the school to continue to include us. So activities like Grandparents' Day at Maple, activities like the Belonging and Inclusive Community Environment that was set up. Things like that help bring us along. I know we're rolling Ruler out, I think, to the parents next year, right? That's a phenomenal piece that, at least as a parent, we're going to be part of. And so when you look at the adult portrait, the reason we landed on an adult is because we all do align on supporting the kids and the system and the staff. And we believe that that's how you create an inclusive environment to foster learning in District 30.
And then one of the pieces to the adult portrait that really stands out to me is the modeling compassion and leadership for students. As we know, kids really watch every single thing we say and do. And I think there's so much planning and intentional thought that goes into the curriculum and the lessons and the SEL and the math and all of that we do. But I think remembering that we're being watched as adults, parents, and staff members, and community members alike in everything, and that showing that kindness and that empathy is going to be modeled by our students as well, and is not going to be lost on them.
The final portrait that was developed, we talk about it as a system portrait, so that district. And this really highlights what the district is going to do to ensure that our students can optimize their potential. In this system portrait, there was a lot of conversation about how these all work together and support the values in the other two portraits. And here the district is really committing to utilizing continuous improvement on an ongoing basis to ensure that we cultivate a community of learners with that innovative and engaging learning styles, both for our students and our adults. As Shreya said, we're not just talking about the kids in the classroom, we're talking about our adults too. And the adults in that room wanted to professionally grow and foster their craft as well. And so we as a system need to support that in order to stay focused on the whole being. We talked about that a lot too, that we are a human-focused organization. We will always be student first, but we are a human organization and we value all the humans within us. The district is committed to academic and intellectual excellence while also ensuring that healthy body and minds, right? It's not one or the other, it's an and. The portrait commits to doing this work while continually aligning our purpose to the needs of our community, the students and staff and the community needs. And this is, I think, really highlighted in the work that we've done to create this plan. This is not the board's plan, this is not Emily's plan, it's not Jackie's plan, it's not Andrew's plan, it's not Shreyas's plan, it's the community, District 30 community plan and everyone had a voice in it. And so we have to be, the system is committed to ensuring that we continue to engage in authentic, real, two-way communication that's clear. I'm going to say the word, even though we made sure it didn't make it up here transparent, while of course being mindful of our being good fiscal stewards and keeping true to that fiscal responsibility with the operations. Over to Jack.
And so, the strategic goals. Our first strategic goal involves academic growth and achievement. Well, we of course want to maintain the excellent academics that we have here in District 30. We also want to make sure that we're building capacity, ensuring growth in all of our students in every one of our buildings. Our next goal would be an invested workforce. We want to empower, we want to support and develop the staff here at District 30. We want to make sure we're recruiting the most highly qualified staff members and finding diverse candidates.
Alrighty, so one of our other goals is safety, wellness, and belonging. We want to support the whole person, student and staff. We want to ensure safe learning environments that foster belonging and inclusiveness, which includes social and emotional learning for all. We want to make sure every student feels welcome here. Illuminate, as Mr. Kurtz talked about, and Ms. Yeager, making sure all the kids feel safe coming here, and so Westcott Willowbrook can feel like they belong.
And then I have the last one, family and community engagement. I know change is difficult, right? It requires trust and clear two-way communication. The family and community engagement strategic goal focuses on the team's desire to continue the work that the board and Dr. Tammaru started and the strategic team picked up, which is engaging the entire community. So as the plan moves forward, that goal is really focused around how do you continue to communicate clearly as goals move to actions and actions move into implementation.
And then of course, it is not lost on us that we have to be fiscally sound and run safe operations. And so all of this is rooted in the fiscal prudency, as well as aligning our allocations to what the mission, vision, and values are, as outlined by the community. And so the plan itself has been created. We're nowhere near done with the work, but it is exciting. And now that it's been developed with community input and collaboration, our internal team gets to take it and actualize it and operationalize it. What we will do now, it's going to be a heavy lift summer. We will be creating action plans for each and every one of the goal areas, utilizing the identified strategies that were created in that room with the 62 people and best practices in education. And then we will be defining the key metrics and key performance indicators that we will use to monitor our progress on these goals, report out to the board, and be held accountable to the community on the progress that we're making. Simultaneously, with the creation of the action plans and the KPIs, we will work with our staff development team. I'm very excited about this one. It's exciting to work in a place where staff is so committed and excited about their own professional learning and growth. And so what comes along with this is a 5-year staff development plan that really looks at what we will accomplish each year and then provides this year-at-a-glance laser focus so that our staff know what the focus will be for that year. And then our staff development team is really looking at new and innovative ways to provide adaptive and flexible learning opportunities, because our staff have said, we want to learn and we need to be engaged, and it needs to be innovative, and it has to be responsive to our needs. So that's what comes next. So we are just incredibly excited about the work. I cannot thank the 62 people that helped with this plan. Thank you to these brave folks who volunteered to present and be up here with us tonight. So this group of experts, these three in particular, welcome any questions from the board on what we hope will be approved at the June board meeting.
That was a really thorough overview. Thank you for being here to do this and to give us the insights into what went on as well. I think it's great to hear about the process that you went through as well as some of the thoughts of individuals that were involved in that. So thank you for being here to bring that to us in that way. Does anybody else have questions or thoughts you'd like to discuss with them?
Yeah, no, thank you. I love the portraits. They really come together to really identify what we as a system need to kind of embody. One question I had, and it's probably a clarification, there are individuals in our community who are not obviously either a parent or a staff member. For example, our elected officials here locally, our police officers, fire officials, and other community members who don't have kids in the system. And so, how would they be represented in these portraits? I can see some elements of that in the system, but did you guys think about them as part of the adult portrait, and are they kind of represented there?
So yes and yes. Yes, they are represented in the adult portrait, absolutely. They were actually part of the 62 that Dr. Tammaru put together. We had members from the community who were not necessarily parents. Maybe they were recently, but still they were not current parents. And so I think when you think about what we want from the community, as a parent currently, I have 2 more years and then fall in that category. I think this still really fits what is expected of me to be a community member, right? To be still part of the District 30 family, even if I'm no longer having a child there. And so I think the voice is represented in here, and I think it'll be interesting as we go out. One of the other things we did is, as we continuously put feedback out, I do know that community members outside of parents responded and provided feedback. So I think that even if they weren't necessarily always in the room, they were still given the opportunity to provide that also.
Yeah, I think too, with that question, Amar, as well, this gets brought to our township meetings. This gets talked about with Dr. Johns. I just was at a Northbrook meeting and I was meeting with the village president. We talked about the values of District 30 and how those coordinate and align with how the Northbrook officials operate and how we intertwine and support each other in that role. So while they might not be called out by specific name or title, they're definitely woven throughout the process.
I think it's really important for them to see the value we're bringing, obviously beyond just the taxes that we're spending on up theirs. And so usually that's what their takeaway is once you're done. You're like, okay, how much money is spent on this stuff? But this is important for them to think about, the value beyond the resource that they're committing to this district. I'm glad you guys were able to accommodate that, and we should continue to kind of push that out and make sure those folks are aware of this stuff. So,
I think that's such an important point for us to remember in the communication piece of this as well, and the intentionality of it.
Thank you. Great work.
Anything else?
I have a question. So how did you find the group that we brought in to lead this process? I know we hired a consultant group that helped lead. What was Dr. Tammaru doesn't get to answer this one, but everybody else, how did that go? How was the group that helped lead this process?
So we worked with Dee Molinar, am I saying her last name? Molinar, sorry. From the CEC, and I thought she was fantastic. She really pulled it together. Like I said earlier, I was kind of thinking it was a little much to be biting off in the second half of the school year. But she really, along with Dr. Tammaru, kept a really organized, very strategic, kept us all on task, and organized things that you didn't realize you were contributing necessarily to the vision when we were working on a piece about the portrait, or we worked on a SWOT first, and how all that really came together. Not being in the business world, I had no idea what any of those terms really entailed. So I thought she was extremely helpful, and I think Dr. Tammaru probably would have done an amazing job as well, but I'm sure for her it was nice to have some help too.
Oh. So, I mean, as I said earlier, I thought the process, it was just eye-opening as to, I learned so much about what goes on in the district. Like, from a student perspective, all I see, like the people I see in our school is like teachers, other school employees. Like, I don't see all the district employees who do all the work behind the scenes. And like, I don't see all the other parents. I mean, I have my own too, but I don't see the others who are also doing all this hard work. So it was truly eye-opening experience. Thank you for all this.
And I'll just add one thing. Actually, having gone through this twice now in the first half of this year, between 225 and 30, actually I would say the process was very impressive. The consultant was very good about making sure everybody's voice was heard, giving people time to actually finish their thoughts and speak. I would say in the 225 one, that became a little harder as the process went along, just to get things done, and they kind of move things along. Versus I would say D was actually really great about listening, taking time, letting people finish, and then structuring the conversation as needed to move forward. So I would say I was very impressed.
Great, excellent. Glad to hear that. Thank you.
Any last questions or last, speak now or forever hold your peace, Andrew. This is it. You got the microphone.
Yeah, you have two microphones, literally.
There's not much more.
Not much more to say.
So we should approve this? Do you recommend us approving this?
Well, that's
Yes.
Andrew, you especially.
Yeah.
I recommend. I would recommend approving it.